What game are we doing? Just fucking say it.
Hi guys. Welcome to another Power Trip Gaming Retrospective. Today, Ooga Boogas and I are doing Joe and Mac.
We're reviewing Joe and Mac.
Joe and Mac, my friends.
Yes. Thank you for not doing more of a caveman.
Alright, buddy, so what do you know about this game?
So the game was, it was originally an arcade game that was then ported to multiple systems, including the Nintendo. In 1991 is when it came out on the Nintendo. It was published by Data East, so I mean they were pretty well established at that point.
Didn't know how to do two-player simultaneous.
They did not. However, the game was developed by Elite Systems, though. It was not developed by Data East. It was developed by a different company.
Elite Systems. What else did Elite do?
I have no idea.
I should look that up.
Honestly, every game that we've played to this point, not a single one of them is Elite Systems, though. I know that, so I don't know what other games that they've done.
I have no idea.
So, but yeah, it's a one-player.
Alternating.
No, it's a two-player, but it's alternating. It can be. However, the Super Nintendo version and the arcade version both had, I think, two-player simultaneous. Yeah.
That's what I wish this game would have been. That's what I thought.
I really wish it could have been two-player simultaneous. It would have been a lot more fun had you had two players who could play at the same time. But
you know, and it even like. You even think about like Mario Brothers when you play two-player and it's alternating and you make separate progress. Like it never feels like it's actually two-player. You know what I mean? Because if one person's really good, that second player's never gonna play.
Well, see, here's the thing: is that one was two-player alternating, but it was each did their own progress.
Yeah.
Number two didn't even have a two-player mode, and number three actually was a it was two-player alternating.
It was alternating
but
two-player.
But you were playing the same game.
It was joint progress.
It was. So
Which,
that's
the way
better.
I feel like two-player games should be.
Yeah. If they're alternating, they should be both making the same progress.
Yeah. You should both be contributing towards the goal. Yeah. You know what I mean? Not quite in separate things. But that's neither here nor there. Joe and Mac, alternating two-player. You're cavemen, Joe and Mac, and you're rescuing.
You gotta rescue your girlfriend
or girlfriends or whatever. Oh, there's a whole bunch of women in this game. There's like a few at the end of every level. There was one of the skirted, bikini-clad women that ran after you.
Monogamous pieces of shit. No, not monogamous.
Polygamous.
Polygamous pieces of shit.
But yeah, I mean, you go through, what was it, five, 6 levels, each with a midpoint, so it's like a mini boss.
And by 5 or 6, you mean 5?
Well, 5, yeah. And
no, not maybe. No, it's 5. 5 levels. Thanks.
5 levels. Each one had a midpoint, so it was 10 screens. I guess.
You're considering it like that. No, it's still it's 5 levels.
It's 5 total levels.
Levels complete. Yeah. That each level is broken up into a part A and part B because there's a mid boss in each at the end of the first segment, and then the second one you face a end level boss.
Yeah.
And actually, we'll get into that in the fun about why it's really not. They used a lot of the same stuff, a lot of the same enemies, a lot of the same bosses, and it just.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, you got 3 lives in this game. Absolutely no continues.
No continues.
So it was
rough.
So it was like playing Double Dragon all over again. Yeah,
but with a much more generous life bar.
But with a much more generous life bar, correct? Instead of like 7 pegs of life or 8 pegs of life, you get like 16 pegs of life, and things actually take away, I think, only 1 peg of life per attack. So.
Yeah. So with that, we'll segue into difficulty. What do you feel Joe and Mac was for difficulty? I don't know what the snap was for.
Yeah, I don't know.
Magic.
Yeah, no.
That's the next game.
So the difficulty, in my opinion, this game was a 5. It was middle of the road
as it gets. Huh?
It was tough in the sense that you kind of had to learn, kind of along the way, but you only get the 3 lives. You don't get any continues, so you're going to be starting over and over again. But at the same time, it only took us I would say an hour, and maybe a little bit longer. But we were able to beat it on our first playthrough. Not our first playthrough, but I mean the first time that we kind of popped this game in, we were able to beat it.
Of course.
So I mean, it's not it wasn't impossible. It wasn't really difficult. The life bar is extremely forgiving.
It is very generous.
Enemies hitting you, it really takes away a very small amount of life. And I think honestly, the only difficult part of this game was that frickin' Audrey 2 plant that can kill you instantly if you touch it.
Yes. That was
tough.
It was annoying.
It was. And
I hated it.
And it was only the sub-boss of the second level.
Yeah.
And
which,
so,
if you watch our playthrough, we continue at least a good handful of times.
Mm-hmm.
Just try and get past him.
Yeah. But once we get past him, that's it.
Oh yeah, it's a downward fall to victory. I mean, he was the uphill climb, and then everything else
just went down from there. Yeah.
That's why for me, I felt like I couldn't pin a difficulty for this. It felt like a 4 because nothing in this game is that difficult. The bosses of the levels are straight jokes.
Mm-hmm.
The mid bosses, on the other hand, are a fucking nightmare. Other than like Audrey 2, obviously being the king. He should have been the last boss.
Yeah.
In all honesty.
Yeah.
The Audrey 2, even the final boss, that big, weird, hairy, fucking caveman guy.
Big caveman guy.
He was stupid. He was so easy.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the wheel, which can take out most things in 1 or 2 hits. Like, the game felt really easy. But at the same time, it felt like a 5. Or a 6, because there's no continues.
I wouldn't go so far as a 6.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think
this coming from the guy who thinks that Firehouse Rescue was a 4.
It was not. Shut up. We haven't even gotten to that one yet. You dick. No, but there were times where, because I mean, holy shit, did they throw a lot of enemies at you at some points? I mean, do you remember just the streams of pterodactyls and stuff? And those fucking pterodactyls, man.
They do.
Those are the Ninja Gaiden Eagles.
Yeah.
And I think I even say something along those lines in the game.
Mm-hmm.
They throw so many at you, and you're getting hit from every angle. You don't know what the fuck to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that's the points it felt 6, but at the same time it didn't feel like 6.
You had such a forgiving life bar though.
Yeah.
Where you could take a lot of damage, and after beating a mid boss or beating the boss at the end of the level, you basically had it refilled your life bar again.
That's true.
So
I suppose upon thinking about it, even 5 does seem exactly fair. I mean, this game is as middle of the road as it gets.
It really is.
You had 4 different weapons you could get. You had the axes you started with. Thank God, not an Adventure Island situation.
Yeah.
You had the boomerang, which was not great. You had the weird talons, which were even worse than your axe. And then you had the almighty wheel.
Yeah.
That wheel, my God, ladies and gentlemen.
As long as you get the wheel, just play through with the wheel, and it's a cakewalk.
Done. The game is a joke with the fucking wheel. That's all that can really be said about it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. Sorry. Those are my notes, and I didn't want to be on, but sorry. Ooga booga. Unga bunga. Oh yeah, that's
what he does. He holds up his hand.
Oh yeah, rock on. But yeah, 5 definitely.
Yeah,
you're right.
It's not. It really is middle of the road. Where it's not easy, but it's by no means or any stretch of the imagination is this game hard.
No. Even I agree with
you. There is a learning curve to it, but it's very easy to get past it. I can't. Yeah, it's really not more difficult than a 5. And if you did think that it was more difficult than a 5, then this would be the end of Power Trip Game.
Well, it was just watching through it and how much we struggled.
Yeah, but we struggled through.
It was
literally
just
like
that,
one part.
And it was literally just Audrey 2.
That was it.
Yeah. You're right.
So.
All right, man. We'll move on to fun.
So since I started with difficulty, what do you give this game for fun?
You know, I wrote down a 4, but I think it's going to be a 3. In all honesty, I mean, the graphics aren't bad, but they're not great. The backgrounds are pretty decent. The music was not. The music sucked. And those fucking pterodactyls, man. Fucking pterodactyls. And then just the fact that the weapons are useless, other than even the axe was more useful than any of the other 2. Between the boomerang
besides the wheel, yeah.
Oh yeah, besides
the almighty, yeah.
Yeah, it just your initial weapon was better than anything else besides the wheel. Like it just the game really didn't offer a whole lot as far as play. I mean, the platforming really wasn't there. It was literally just, it felt like a Mario game, but shitty.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's all it was. So, for fun, I'm thinking a 3. It really wasn't that fun of an experience. And it was just mediocre, less than mediocre. I mean...
So, for fun,
There
I
you go.
gave this game a 4. And I think that it's actually... it was a decent offering, but it definitely had its flaws. And it had a lot of flaws. And unfortunately, it really kind of just... It shoots it into mediocrity. It really is just kind of a mediocre game that you will easily forget about. Now, you say that the graphics were okay, they weren't great. It's actually very funny because the graphics on some levels are absolutely amazing. I think level 1 with the parallax scrolling that they had in the background was fantastic. The 5th level, which was almost kind of very reminiscent of Ghosts and Goblins, that was very well detailed. But then you had levels in between, like 2, 3, and 4, that just completely... It was either devoid of backgrounds, or it had very, very just boring, like the stones in, I think it was the 3rd level or something like that.
Yeah.
Just a very boring background palette. And so you had certain things that stuck out, certain things that just kind of just blended in. The music, it was okay. It wasn't the greatest, so there wasn't...
I think there was only one song, wasn't there? Or were there multiple songs?
No, there was multiple songs.
Was there? Maybe I just never really...
Yeah, there was multiple songs. But there was also... I mean, there was really very little variety in this game. There was... I mean, from the weapons that you had available, you hit the nail on the head where... Why offer multiple weapons like the talon and the boomerang when your initial weapon, the axe, is better than those?
Yeah.
Obviously, the wheel is by far the best, and if you can come into contact with it, yeah, that's what you want. But you are almost motivated to keep your axe versus getting the boomerang or getting those talons.
It felt like, just imagine if in Contra you started with the laser, but then they offered just the rifle.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you ever in any universe want the rifle when you start with a laser?
Yeah.
You know, that's what this game felt like.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just imagine that for a second. You know what I mean? It's it just seems stupid to have your initial weapon be better than other options.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
And it also got repetitive with the bosses and the sub-bosses, where a lot of the sub-bosses started coming back as sub-bosses, or you would have a bigger creature as like similar to what you did versus a sub-boss as the final boss, where like the sub-boss of the first level was the T-Rex, was the little T-Rex, and then the end boss of the first level was just the T-Rex head, and then later on in the game you faced the sub-boss again, the small dinosaur, and then you faced a different color palette swap of the big-headed dinosaur.
And he really didn't do anything different.
And they never did anything differently.
I think the only thing they added was one pterodactyl.
The enemies, there really wasn't that much variety of enemies. The levels were incredibly short, which, I mean, in and of itself, not necessarily bad. And also, too, the hit detection in this game was really faulty in the sense that you would not yield the same results when you were hitting the same areas sometimes. It seems like when we were fighting like the big giant T-Rex head, it's like some of our hits would get through and some of our hits just wouldn't get through even though we were hitting the same area. It's like we had no idea what the hitbox was.
Was it Astyanax or was it Ninja Crusaders where we had a similar experience? Where we couldn't quite figure out what the fuck we were hitting.
It was Astyanax.
Astyanax?
Yeah.
That's kind of what this, like, watching this again felt like. Was just like, what the hell am I hitting and why is it working? Why is it not working?
So, yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, as far as a platforming game goes, I think that it was interesting because, like I said, the parallax scrolling in 1991, that was pretty early on. So, I mean, they were really trying to do something new.
It did look cool. I completely forgot about that.
It was something that was, I don't know, you really see much like this at the time, but like, I can't go as low as a 3, but it's definitely, I think it earns its 4. in my opinion.
I gave it a 3 just because it wasn't simultaneous.
No, I know.
This kind of game...
But at least you had a 2-player mode, though.
Yeah,
It may have been alternating, but you at least had a 2-player mode. You didn't even have that in other, like, Data East games, like Double Dragon, because they didn't know how to do 2-player.
They just scrapped the whole idea.
Yeah.
I suppose so. I mean, whatever. It's fucking Joe and Mac. So, is it worth it? What did you spend for Joe and Mac?
So Joe and Mac, I paid $3.99 for this game.
I
ended up getting this one in. Dude, I ended up getting this one in Madison at pre-played when their games were just basically all of them were just a flat rate $3.99.
God, I miss those days.
This was one of those games where I remember being really happy because I had a history of the game, but playing it on the Super Nintendo. And I thought, oh, this is just going to be a port from, like, the Super Nintendo of the Nintendo one. And when we played it, I'm like, this is definitely not what I remember. The Super Nintendo version was a heck of a lot better.
That's actually going to go into my worth it thing here. But as of this video, price charting lists this game for $15.42.
$15?
$15, man. $15.50 if you want to round it.
I know that you don't... Like, you really don't see this game often. On the Nintendo.
I really don't think I ever see it that much.
I don't think I've ever really seen it that much.
But do you feel that is worth it for Joe?
No, I don't, actually.
I don't either.
I don't think
Sorry.
I don't think 15 is worth it. This game is really, it's
short.
It's not good, it's not bad, it just is. It's just, it literally is, it will fade into obscurity in your mind. There is nothing stand out about this game. No, it really will. There's nothing stand out about this game. No. You will easily forget about it. You play through it once, you have no reason whatsoever to come back to it. And I think we say this a lot, but there's a lot better out there for a lot cheaper.
I agree.
That you could do that will give you more of a variety and will just be more enjoyable.
You know, when we do retrospectives, normally we watch these videos to prepare for it. There are some games we don't have to, like games that some of the ones coming up we're doing. I didn't even have to watch our videos because I already know. This one, I had to rewatch it because I had no idea what the fuck we even did. The game is so forgettable. But you're right, it's not worth it. Your money would be better off spent on the one for the Super Nintendo. I mean, at least then you could play co-op. You could have some fun with it. The graphics are better, and it's just an overall better game. It's just everything is so just
forgettable.
It's not great. The controls are kind of okay. Attacking sucks. It's just
it's not worth it. Plain and simple.
It's a short game too. I mean, 5 levels, only 10 screens. Not really anything.
And the screens are not that long.
No.
So.
Yeah, and there was nothing to delineate whether you were hitting the end of a screen or not, was there? It was like
nope, it was just the boss. It was this,
you were just walking,
and then you would meet them. Yeah.
Weird.
So
well, fuck. There it goes. Joe and Mac.
5 for difficulty, 3 to 4 for fun, and is it worth it?
No.
Nah, not worth it.
Cool. So hit us up on Facebook.
Booga 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 booga.
Go to powertripgaming.tv. It'll take you right to the channel. And you can watch all of our other amazing videos. Watch Joe and Mac. That's right. The link will be in the description for you to watch this shit.
Booga booga. Booga booga. Booga booga. Booga booga.
So next time on Power Trip. Oh god, I went Russian. We'll review something better. I want a bikini cave woman to go running by.
Ooga booga. Ooga booga booga. Oh, ho, ho, ho.
I'd invent wheel for her!